What you eat, especially in North America, can burn your body down. Today, we're going to talk about what you should be eating and what you need to stop eating immediately if you want a strong, healthy body and no inflammation. Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast online radio and TV network. I'm Scott Paton, your co-host, along with Martin Pytela, health coach. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Scott. Doing all right.
Awesome. All right, so we've been talking about inflammation, and today we're going to focus on inflammation and nutrition. And we want to help you get to the root causes of your problems, okay? And as we said last week, what did we say last week?
Well, never mind what we said last week. I want to just, while the thought is in my head, I want to say this. When you convert food into energy in the presence of oxygen, it's very similar to burning a log in your fireplace. You are actually creating heat and releasing energy. And that happens essentially with burning. So you are creating inside of your cell the environment that automatically creates inflammation, damage. And we need to contain it in a similar way as you would try and contain a hot ember, like something that's hot, red hot. And the only way you can contain it is if you toss it from hand to hand without leaving contact on for too long, because if you leave the contact on too long, you'll burn it. So you're tossing it back and forth. And this tossing is done with the help of antioxidants that are containing this hot mess. So it's the yin and the yang, the inhale and the exhale, the burn and the repair, the dynamic balance of life.
That's an excellent analogy, Martin. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So a lot of people have a lot of inflammation. It shows up in a lot of different places. And I went for a walk today, and I'm trying to go for a morning and a late afternoon walk, 2 walks, one morning and late afternoon. And for about 2 kilometers, because we're Canadian and we do metric, right? So 1.25 miles sort of thing. And so I get on my little Google map and I point out there's a mile, or there's a kilometer, or half a kilometer. I'm going to go there and go back, and then try to get into the habit of doing it over and over and over again. And as I'm walking, my knees are irritating me a little bit. It's like there's a little inflammation or pain, and it's on the inside of both my knees, as opposed to the whole knee, which it has been, or below the knee, which it has been. So it kind of moves around a bit. And it caused me to ask myself this question, which I'm hoping, Martin, you can answer. And that is, when we have inflammation, do we feel it most in the areas of our body that is the weakest? Because I've always had problems with my knees because I played too much squash and tennis in my youth. And so I'm thinking, well, why don't I have this inflammation in my thumb, or why don't I have it in my back or my foot, but I've got it in my knees, and that's where I'm dealing with it.
Yeah. Well, I think, yes, that it would have to be the weak link, both genetically and perhaps mechanically. It could be that you're wearing a particular style of shoe, a pair of shoe that is affecting how your feet are placed. And if they are off, I don't know, which slanted inward or outward, or whichever it is, you may be putting more pressure on the inside with this particular shoe that you're wearing. Possibly.
Right. So that's one thing to think about when people have inflammation. Like I was thinking of like grandmas. They used to have these crunched up old crooked hands, right? And why? Well, they always crocheted and did stuff. So maybe that was why. Right?
Maybe she didn't do enough of the exercise of stretch. Right. Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe. Okay. So inflammation in general, it will definitely attack the weaker parts. And of course, what we have noticed is that the grains, which is the common source of food or energy for us, are burning hot.
Right.
Like, my fireplace analogy, you can be burning kindling, or you can be burning large logs. Now, when you're burning kindling, it catches on fire easy, and it creates a large flame quickly, and it's over soon. But it's hot. The log, you need to work at getting it lighted, but once it's lighted, it stays on for a good while.
Right.
Anyway, so we have these two dominances, right? The autonomics and the oxidizers. And we have these people who are more efficient at converting food into energy and less efficient. And so in the oxidizer, you have a fast oxidizer and slow oxidizer. And fast oxidizer is so good at burning the lighter foods that it's actually burning too hot. So you need to feed a fast oxidizer a diet that's high in fat and low in starch. And the slow oxidizer is inefficient. And so fat for them is too sluggish, and you need to actually give them carbs because otherwise they just are gummed up. So we have these differences with people, and so somebody will do better with the lighter fuels and somebody will do better with the others. Well, both you and I are the types that are burning too hot.
We're burning too hot. So what are some of the ways people can know which? So to begin with, inflammation, what we eat has a big impact on how inflamed our body is, right? How much inflammation that we have. And you've talked about in terms of energy, the different types of body, the two different types of body types and how they burn it. And in my mind, I was thinking we have a dry log and we have a damp log, right? Yeah. The dry log, you put the kindling on it, it'll start up and it'll just burn forever. Whereas the wet one is going to take just
you need a propane torch for half an hour.
Right. So what are some clues that people can be looking at to decide that? And I guess one of the ones that I'm thinking of right away is when I have carbs for lunch, I am sound asleep at 2:30.
Well, yeah, that's the pH balance. Absolutely. What I'm thinking of is that with the diet, the blood glucose levels will tell you, right? Like if you go to a doctor and have yourself a blood test, they'll check your glucose level, your insulin level, and your H1C, which is the long-range 90-day window showing you how you're doing long-term with the level of glucose in your bloodstream. So if your A1C is really high, like normal decent level is in the 5s, anything over 5.5 is questionable, anything over 6 is super concerning, anything over 7 is you're in deep trouble. And anyway, so if you're in the 5s, okay, good. If you're not, then you're eating a diet that's too hot. You're getting too much carbohydrate, which converts into glucose, which converts into insulin, triglycerides, and LDL cholesterol, and the whole business of turning you into a diabetic, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome X victim. Well, you're not a victim. You're shoveling the wrong kind of food into your mouth. You're killing yourself with your fork. So that's the first indication. You will know if you go to a doctor and they tell you that your LDL is high, your triglyceride is high, and your blood glucose level is high, especially the fasting blood glucose, you know you have a problem. You must change your diet.
Right. So generally speaking, are there certain types of foods that we could say for everybody is going to probably cause you inflammation? And
100%.
So let's talk about those.
The food-like substances produced by the industrial food producers, right? Like they are all the refined stuff. Not all of the refined things are related to energy, but Definitely, refined salt is stripped of the trace minerals. Refined sugar is stripped of all the stuff that would make it somewhat healthy. Like you can buy raw sugar instead of refined sugar. I'm not saying sugar is bad. Too much sugar is bad. What's really bad is refined flour. And of course, with that comes white rice and all the other refined grains. And refined vegetable oils or seed oils. Those are bad news. They are typically used for frying. Oh, that's, fried food is not healthy. So what have I got here? Well, if I put you into a fast food restaurant where they have grill fried something and deep fried something and put it together with refined flour and few symbolic vegetables, you're not doing well. You're putting in calories, but not a whole lot of useful nutrition. So those kind of foods are going to trigger you.
Right. So everybody likes to go out. We always have special events where we go out. I'm going to go to this restaurant. They have French fries. So based on the fact that that's probably fried in seed oil of some type and is going to make me more inflamed and I don't want to be sore tomorrow. It's got hamburgers. So we've got the buns, which is refined flour and stuff. So I don't want to eat that. And of course, my choices are going down, 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 down. I'm thinking, and oftentimes this is what I do, is I have a salad of some sort with the balsamic and olive oil, right? Because so you talked about the seed oils. That is not, an olive oil is not a seed oil.
No, it's a fruit. Olive is a fruit. Fruit oils are great. And the fruits are olive, coconut, and avocado.
There you go. So would you, like when I was growing up, my mom gave me cod liver oil. I had a spoonful of cod liver oil.
Now that, of course, that's a whole different gig. That's a vitamin A supplement, which most people living in high latitudes, like, your cold weather Canada, you definitely need to have some fish oil, cod liver oil, halibut oil, salmon oil. All of those are wonderful nutrients, especially in the winter, because it supplies vitamin A and vitamin D.
Okay. So, but that's not going to have any impact on my inflammation.
Well, it will lower your overall inflammation. Absolutely, it will.
Because where I was actually going with this is when I was growing up, I got this oil and a spoon into my mouth. And I'm thinking, well, what if you just, took it, depending on how hot the room is, a chunk of coconut oil or a spoonful of coconut oil every day? Would that help with the inflammation?
Yeah, probably. But you need to swap things out, right? Like it's the olive oil instead of white rice.
Right.
Coconut oil instead of a piece of white.
Right.
butter.
It's like any balance, right? You have to take some stuff, you have to add some stuff, and you have to take some stuff away, because we have foods that make us inflamed, and we have foods that help us deal with the inflammation.
Yeah. Let's just throw in the glycemic index, the magical word of glycemic index, which is it's the measure of how that specific food compares to straight glucose. Now, straight glucose comes to you from straight starch. Starch is made from 3 strings of glucose molecules. As soon as it hits your mouth, the amylase enzyme is released, and it takes the starch apart. And it tastes sweet. It's pleasant. Anyway, potato, white potato, sweet potato, rice, grains like wheat, all the cake and donut and all of that. All of those things are sources of instant glucose. So when you hit your body with that, it's creating a spike in glucose, which is followed by a spike in insulin, which is followed by a spike in triglycerides. And all of that is working on depositing lipids, as in white, like fat, on your belly. That's what this is going to do. So glycemic index, You can push the index down by adding things that are low starch, like vegetables, or that are fat, which is like 0, or protein, which is somewhere low, right? So if you're going to eat a potato, you should probably add some, I don't know, butter and bacon bits to it, and maybe chives. That's the combo, right? Like you're lowering your overall glycemic index of the food by adding to it, if you have to eat starch at all, which some of us do. It's not totally bad.
Right. I guess so. One of the things you can say is if all you're eating is potatoes, that's not good. But if you have one potato a month, you don't have anything to worry about. And then find the balance.
Funny thing about potato, when you serve it cold after it's been cooked, the glycemic index drops down by a lot. So for example, steam your potato and make a potato salad, and it will have a much lower glycemic index than the steamed potatoes straight up, served hot.
Very cool. All right. So just to kind of summarize a little bit, what are some of the anti-inflammatory foods people should be watching out for?
Yeah. Well, essential fatty acids are the best, right? Like we definitely need those. So alpha lipoic acid, ALA, that comes with flax oil, flax seed, and other healthy oils. Olive oil is definitely great, as is coconut oil, palm oil, avocado oil. Those are awesome. Animal fats are not bad. We humans are mostly omnivorous. We eat everything, including animals, and fats are good for us. It's a great source of energy. So that's the anti-inflammatory in the fat department. And then, of course, all the polyphenols, the colorful rainbow of things, whether it's a blueberry or raspberry or red pepper or yellow pepper, all the colors that you can see, all the pigments, those are good for you. And of course, they contain antioxidants, vitamins. So the whole list, A, B, C, D, E, K, those are important. And the more, the merrier, really. So for that, you need uncooked vegetables, salads.
Right. Yeah. So greens are awesome, right?
Yeah, that's part of the rainbow.
Right.
Greens, blues, browns, oranges, all of them. Honestly,
Right.
The more colorful, the better.
So that's kind of an overview of the anti-inflammatory foods.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about processed, what we call frankenfoods. So these are things
my dear.
well,
Well,
in the grocery store, we used to always say, shop the perimeter, because you're in the produce, the meats, well, it
Yeah.
would be the bakery too, the
Yeah.
deli, and stay out of the canned goods
yeah,
departments.
the moment you head into the middle to the stuff with the barcodes, it's been processed a lot.
A lot.
And it has additives added to it that extend the shelf life, which are not necessarily extending your life. Well, fried potato chips tastes great, wonderful on the palate, but it's, of course, carcinogenic and high starch. What to do? All these, if you find hydrogenated fats in the product, don't eat it. I think it's been banned in many locations. I don't know if that's still in foods or not, but definitely hydrogenated fats are bad news. So all the crackers and all the shelf-stable stuff is not nearly as good as anything that you can prepare from fresh, eat it that day or the day or second day when it's prepared. That's the main point.
Prepare your food. So,
Yeah.
Martin, how can we change some of these habits? Because we all have, I'm not going to say all of us, but the vast majority of us have bad habits when it comes to eating. And what are some of the steps that we can take to start to change that?
Honestly, this one puzzles me to the end, because of course we need to make a decision, a commitment, a decision that this here is a temple and I must feed it in a respectful way, because if I'm going to abuse it, I'm going to shorten my good days.
Right.
You're not necessarily going to shorten your life, but you're going to shorten the number of days that you're going to enjoy. There may be a fairly long stretch of you being quite unwell, waiting to die. And I don't like that. That prospect is awful. So,
You remind me of my grandma, and she had a stroke, and she was in a home for 7 years. And at the end, she couldn't feed herself. She couldn't talk. She was just a vegetable sitting there. Like, it was really tragic.
yeah.
We want to, our mission is to restore vitality to you and to the planet. And we want us to all live with a lot of vitality, a lot of energy, a lot of good feelings, not full of pain and burning joints when it comes
Yeah.
to the end.
Yeah. You started out talking about knees and whatnot. And I remember went for a trip to Europe. And of course, there's complications. When you're away, you don't get to always choose your foods. 3 weeks later, I came home and one of my fingers, like this particular joint, just this one joint, was swollen by almost double the size. I'm thinking, oh, look at that. There's all that excess carbohydrate and dairy that I ate, because that was the food that was present and available. So I had to do an extra cleanse, put myself on a better diet, eating the type of foods that I know will support the body in having energy without the inflammation. It's available to us. We just need to think.
Right. So my answer to my question would be to plan, is to say, okay, I'm going to, on Tuesdays, I'm like Wimpy on Popeye. I go and have a hamburger. What can I have instead of the hamburger? And where can I go if I have to go out, or if I'm going to stay in, what can I what can I stay in and do? And then it's all about preparation and time. And the habit, you cannot get rid of a habit. You can only replace a habit. So if my habit is hamburgers on Tuesday, then I'm going to say, well, maybe I'll have to put it onto my calendar on Monday. I'm going to bake a bunch of potatoes and have potato salad instead on Tuesday with a steak or something.
Or modify your hamburger, right? Like you can go, I remember getting into Wendy's and ordering a salad and a hamburger, and I just tossed the bun.
Right.
Yeah.
So in other words, just making some sort of decisions on some sort of changes, and then having ways that you can reinforce that change, right? Which means your family has to be cooperative, right? Like if you spend less time with people that have habits that you don't like if all your friends want to get drunk every night and you want to be sober, well, you probably need to spend less time with those friends, right?
Yep.
Certainly not at the times when they get drunk. Right. I'll have
right.
lunch.
Yeah, you could probably continue to have social time with them, except not in the evening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And and I don't think I have a beer a month, and I can go 6 months without any sort of drink. I don't care, but I can still also go to the bars with my friends, and they'll all be drinking a beer, and I'll have, or lemonade is usually what I prefer. But
interesting.
So you can, but you have to sit down and you have to live your life consciously, because all of our eating habits have been developed by sitting around, and TV commercials are playing, whether we're actually paying attention to them or not. They're still getting into our subconscious. And there was a study, and they said, McDonald's has a commercial. You won't necessarily want to have a Big Mac, but you're going to want to have something. It could be Burger King. It could be a sandwich. It could be an apple. It could be a donut from the fridge. And it was just like, wow, so those commercials affect a lot of people. And of course, in commercials, what do most people do? They get up and they run to the fridge to find something to eat.
Yep.
So we've talked about things that people are putting into their mouth that help them and things that people put into their mouth that don't help them. And Life Enthusiast has a lot of products designed to help people for a lot of different things. And I'm just wondering if you have 1, 2, or 3 products you'd like to share with everybody about that can help with this.
Well, on this topic, right, what we would want to have is some kind of a nutritional. We make, for example, superfood blends that we have available. I'm thinking of one called Powerteen. The name is a play on 2 words, power and protein. And it's rich in protein, rich in polyphenols. All you have to do is just take a spoonful or 2 of that. You can mix it with water or juice or put it inside of a smoothie. And that drink is going to deliver as much nutrients as a bowl of salad would, just 2 spoonfuls. So that's an awesome fix me, give me energy, keep my immune system well, keep my mind sharp, keep me trim and slim.
Cool. And I'm putting all of the links to all of these in the comment section. So if you are interested in knowing more, you can click the link in the comments and go and check it out. Yeah. And what's another one, Martin?
Well, we were talking about inflammation, right? So if you do have high level of inflammation, the first way you notice it is called stiffness on rising. If you're sitting for an hour, like in an armchair or in a car, and then you try to get up, if you're having a hard time straightening and just walking, you have stiffness on rising. If you have joint pain, like carpal tunnel or sore joints, all of that, sore back, you have inflammatory decay. And I would recommend you take a look at a product that we call Theraminos, therapeutic. And these Theraminos are a wonderful blend of things that your body needs in order to repair the damage that the inflammation is causing. So if you have chronic inflammatory disease, especially the arthritic or the bad back or the stiffness, this thing will compensate. It will make up for the deficit. It's a crutch, but it's a very welcome crutch that will help you feel a lot healthier and less pain. Yeah.
And I believe we have one more we wanted to talk about. And that would be the BioMagic. You're muted, Martin.
Of course. And the one that we want to talk about, the BioMagic, is it's the dirt that is missing from the food. It's a curious thing. The industrial food processing methods have made the foods very clean, practically sterile, and our guts actually need some dirt in them. And this dirt, the most important part of that is the humic and fulvic acid. And the product that we're highlighting here, called BioMagic, is a blend of the 2, humic and fulvic. And so when you put that in, it's supporting the microbes in your gut so that they do their job. You may not be aware of this, but when you eat food, the microbes are pre-processing it. The digestion actually involves the microbes living within you that pre-digest the food so that whatever you're ingesting is not the same thing as what you're absorbing. And you need the microbes to help you to break it down so that you can absorb it effectively. So anyway, feed the microbes, give them the magic.
Cool. Well, we're coming towards the end of our time together, everybody, and it's been pretty interesting, Martin. I've certainly learned a lot. Want to remind everybody that there's a lot of things that we can't talk about on most social media, and so we move over to Telegram on Sundays, and we talk about all sorts of different things. And last week it was how inflammation, I think, kills people.
I did. We need to figure out what we're going to talk about. I'm fairly spontaneous. I usually figure out in the last 20 minutes what the topic's going to be. So I don't know what to promise you, but what I would welcome very much is your input, because I can actually tailor it to what you're interested in. So if you join at the t.me/lifeandco, come join us on Telegram. You'll be inside of a group and you'll have access to the chat, and you can write messages to us, and you get to get your voice. You'll be heard, and you'll get to get answers to things that you care about. I don't know what you're caring about until you tell me.
Exactly. And finally, we cover a lot in this show. We cover a lot on the Telegram. But the truth of the matter is, and we keep emphasizing this, everybody is unique and everyone's problems are unique. And you really need, so we're kind of dealing with everything in a global perspective, not very specific. But if you head over to, where is it? There it is, Life Enthusiast. And that page, I'm going to put it in the comments. Martin and you can get together for a little bit and chat and see what your problems are and see what we can do to help you.
The health coach sessions are interesting. We charge $30 for 15 minutes, but the first 15 minutes are on us. So if you're quick, you probably can get everything you need for free. Now, if you, of course, have lots of problems and lots of questions, then we need to somehow get compensated for the time we invest.
Right.
But I assure you, first 15 minutes on the house.
There you go. All right. So we're getting ready to wrap it up. Martin, any last words of wisdom before we leave for today?
Oh, man. Just remember, you might be digging your grave with your fork. What you put on your fork matters. The choice matters. It's hard for us to fix with pills what you mess up with your fork. So think about that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Martin. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate you a lot. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.